I am a teen who doesn't have a driver's license or a way to get to an Orthodox church. I have been raised Protestant and have been at the same church for 15 years out of the 16 years of my life. For the past year, I have been drawn to Orthodoxy and have had some concerns about Protestantism. What should I do?
Well, I would say to you that you should, if you have a computer or a phone, a cell phone, you can reach us, joyofallwhosorrow.org, and we are online, and we have services currently online, and you can tune into those and to get a feeling for whether or not you really want to become Orthodox. And if you do, I can send you my phone number, and you can call me, and we can try to work it out. Now, if you're out of state, we can try to find you an Orthodox church that would be closer to your home.
Any advice for a new convert? How to navigate being Orthodox when your spouse didn't convert / isn't religious? Raising your child and keeping them in the faith.
Yes, difficult. Very, very difficult. And for that reason, we wish that people would marry within the faith, within their faith. But if you are married and you have a child and you want to raise him Orthodox and your wife's not religious, then at least you can strike a compromise with her and take him to church with you. And if you take him to church with you, you make sure he gets the right kind of catechesis and the whole thing that goes with it. And you just be nice to her. You don't blame her for not being Orthodox. You just be nice to her, be kind, be loving, be supportive. And I said, and eventually, it'll turn around, maybe. Possibly she'll become Orthodox. I've seen people take years to develop it and then become Orthodox. It doesn't happen overnight. The old saying that some sow, some plant, some sow, some reap. And so I'll tell you a little story about a man who came into our church when we were on our first location. He lived next door. And he used to come in and stand in the back of the church. He was married. I think he was married. Stand in the back of the church. And one day I said to him, you come in and stand in the back of the church. I said, are you really interested in the faith? He says, yeah. I said, do you want to be a catechumen? He goes, yeah. He said, well, the only problem is I'm moving to Australia. I said, well, it's not a problem for me. I said, we can make you a catechumen, and we'll find you a church down in Australia, wherever you're going. I'm sure there's an Orthodox church. And so it just so happened he went to a church where a friend of mine was the priest, actually. And then I didn't hear from him ever again for years. Years went by. And so about 2.5 years ago, he came walking in here. Now, he said, do you remember me? And I went, no. I said, who are you? He says, well, you made me a catechumen way back when. He says, I just wanted to tell you the rest of my story. What happened? He said, so I went to the church in Australia. I was a catechumen. And then I got transferred, my job transferred to England. But I ended up in Essex, where I met the elder and all that. And so then they baptized me and chrismated me. And I've been Orthodox now for a number of years. And I just wanted to say thank you for getting me started. You just don't know where it ends. You don't know. There's no end. Well, in this world, there's all possibility exists.
Why do Orthodox and Western Catholics ask saints for prayer? Where in the Bible does it tell us to do that? I struggle with that, as well as venerating saints. It seems to take away from Christ. Also, the Bible says Jesus is the only one we need to pray to. Thank you.
Well, one thing is we don't really pray to. So if I said to you, if I had a problem and I said to Nick over here, Nick, I have a problem, can you help me with it? He wouldn't say, no, go to Jesus. Well, I already went to Jesus, but now I want Nick to help me with my problem. So Nick might be able to help me with the problem that I have. So we saints can intercede on our behalf. Saints can help us, just like your grandpa could help you, or your uncle, or your aunt, or your whoever. It doesn't really matter who it is. They're human, and they're still alive, and they can help you. That's why we don't pray to saints, but we ask for their help and intercession. That's a simple answer to the question. But the way that I always answer it is that you wouldn't just like kissing icons, which is along the same lines. If you walked into your grandma's house and she had Uncle Abe and Uncle George and Uncle Samson and whoever all in pictures with aunt and uncle, you wouldn't mind going over there just saying, "Oh, I remember you so much, Grandma, Grandpa, Uncle, Aunt. Thank you for all you ever did for me and all that. I hope you're in heaven, whatever." You wouldn't have any problem. But the people that we put on the walls are people that the church itself has already said that they're saints. Now, we would like to think that everybody's a saint. That's just not going to necessarily be the truth, but we would like to think that. So we ask prayers of intercession. So do you have to do that? No, you don't have to. Can you do that? Yes, you can, because we call upon the saints to help us, just like we would call upon Uncle Bill to help us fix the driveway.
What is the best advice for raising a son as a single father in the Orthodox Church? Also, what is the path to remarriage, if there is one? Should I go down that route?
The best advice for raising a son and or daughter, actually, it would be to bring them to church as often as possible, have them involved in, have a regular prayer life with them, read morning prayers, evening prayers, come to the feast days. In other words, with or without the wife, you still can take him to church. We have several single fathers. We've had not several, but we have some single fathers here, and that's what they do. They bring the kids to church. So that's one thing you can do. As far as the path of marriage, I think that's not easily answered, in a sense that today women are there aren't as many women they're coming into the church as there are men. That's one thing. Two, I think you can find someone, you can go to dating sites, for instance. Sounds silly, but we've had two or three people do it through dating sites where they got married and they have a kid, I think that there's Orthodox dating sites for that. But I said, but you have to be willing to have something to offer someone. Like, if you're unemployed and you're one foot out the door, having a roof over your head, not a good situation. But if you have a job and a thing, then you have to get to know a person as friends, do things together in community, observe the fasting rules of the sexuality aspect, and see if you can build a common life together. You can build something together, become friends and do things together. And then it's really not that different than when it's hard, but it's not that different. It's just a matter of, do you want to, if you've been married, do you want to go through this whole process with another woman? The process of getting to know them, getting to know their flaws, how you're going to deal with those flaws when they come up, because they will come up. There's no Shangri-La out there for married spouses. There's no place where you can, I get all of them from this one source. Every man that's in a relationship with a woman, one thing that I tell them is listen, listen, listen. And don't have all the answers. That's all. If you can listen in a genuine way, and you don't have all the answers you seem to have all the answers, then you got a chance.
What exactly is a Paraclesis service?
Paraclesis? That's a Greek service, I think, that they do. It's Canon to the Mother of God. They do it on Fridays. It's generally a canon to the Mother of God, and it has a gospel reading and it has various readings in it. It's not just simple, like in the Russians, they have canons. The Russians are more prone toward akathis, and the Greeks are more prone toward paraclesis. But it's just it's a service to the Mother of God. And
So it's like a prayer service?
prayer service, right?
Okay.
It's in most prayer books. They have, the Greek prayer books, where they have it every Friday night in most Greek churches. The small Paraclesis, they don't do the long one. The long one they do during Great Lent, I believe. Every Friday in Great Lent, they do the long version.
At what age do children go to confession? Is it like when they are a teenager or?
7. That's when we start. Some parents start them earlier than that. Some when they're 5 or 6, but 7. But the way we do confession with young kids is not the same way we do with adults. So with young kids, I will ask them questions like, did you disobey your teacher? Did you lie to your teacher? Did you say you did the homework but you didn't do it? Yes, Did you get angry at anybody? Your sister, your brother, your parents? Yes. Did you lie to your parents? Yes. It's at 6 or 7 they can come out with it. And we try to end on a high note, That's pretty much how it's done. That's the way I do it. I ask them questions. You don't want them reading a list of sins. I was raised Roman Catholic, so I remember that's a funny story, but I remember my dad took me for the first confession, right? So they have the little booths, with the light on and light off. So I went in, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It is my first confession. I've committed the following sins. I went through the whole list and I came out. And my dad said, "You haven't done it yet." I said, "What happened?" I said, the door slid open. He goes, "No, that was for me. I was on the other side." And he says, and anyway, no, you have to go back in now. And I went, oh my God, I have to do it twice? And I ended up doing it twice.
What are some prayers that we can utilize to reinvigorate our prayer life on a day-to-day basis?
I think that in the Orthodox Church we have akathis, and I recommend akathis to people. Akathis to a saint, Mother of God, God Himself, God's will be done. There's so many different akathis that you can do now that are written, and I think that even I tell people just do a third of it, a third of it, a third of it. Do it 3 nights in a row. If you can't do the whole thing in one night, because it takes about 20 minutes. But I think that Jesus' prayer is also very helpful in the moment, and you can do that all the time. And our Father, who art in heaven, I think you can really do that anytime, all time, every time, because that's the prayer that our Lord gave us. So that's what I'd recommend anyway, those kind of prayers.
How do I become more humble?
Deny yourself and follow Him. That's what He said. Deny yourself and follow Him. In every situation, you have to do it in the moment, in the time, and when you're experiencing this pride or vanity or whatever it is, you cross yourself and you say, God, help me in this moment. You help me be humble, help me be whatever. You just offer a prayer on your behalf and ask God to help you. But you have to do it. You have to seize the moment. You have to seize That's the thing about sin itself, actually, is that, say, for instance, we have fasting, no milk, no meat, no eggs, no dairy on Wednesdays and Fridays. Say you end up eating a hamburger on Wednesday, middle of the day. Now, you can have one of two ways to look at it. I blew the fast, I might as well just eat hamburgers the rest of the day. Or you could say, I'm not going to eat hamburgers the rest of the day. I'm going to repent the rest of the day and be sad and ask God to intervene and give me strength to not eat. And so maybe you make it only through part of the day again, and you eat another burger. I'm just saying that I pick burgers because people, they have the hardest time in our society. But just to say that there's all the level of fasting that's required in the Orthodox Church is not even that harsh. It's basically staying away from protein. But you can still have. Sometimes you can have fish. Sometimes you can have. But I would just say that you have to deal with it in the moment. If you're having lustful issues, in the moment. If you blow it, in the moment. Just stay present. Don't give in and just give over to it. That's what I say.
What are the key pieces of wisdom you can offer to catechumens in their journey through Orthodoxy?
I would say pray, fast, give alms, support the church. That would be what Jesus said to do. I would say that don't be too involved with the internet so that it takes over your becoming Orthodox. On the internet you can find all kinds of people with all kinds of perspectives. I said, so maybe you need to seek a blessing before you engage with some others, with somebody. There are a lot of people that look Orthodox, that look, they dress Orthodox, but they may or may not be Orthodox. So that's in being a catechumen, you have a spiritual father who made you a catechumen. So therefore you should check in with him on those kinds of things. I think the other thing is don't be in a hurry. You have a whole lifetime to become Orthodox. That's a big thing. Be patient, in other words. It's so easy to want to just go jump in the water, so to speak. But it's not a pool party. It's a salvation party. So we want that to be when you're really ready for it. And sometimes we bring people in ahead of schedule, and that doesn't always work out right. So for catechumens, they have to understand that temptations are going to come their way, feelings are going to come their way, thoughts are going to come their way. The Orthodox Church has ways of dealing with those things if you bring them to the attention of the spiritual father.
I hope you all enjoyed this video with Father John Tomasi out of the Joy of All Who Sorrow Orthodox Church in Los Angeles, California. If you'd like to support the work that they're doing, and if you'd like to help fundraise for their church, please consider visiting the Orthodox Gift Store website. I'm going to put a link in the description below. If you sign up on their website using your email, you're going to get 15% off any purchases that you make on the website. And if you use the code Roots of Orthodoxy at checkout, you're going to get an additional 5%. So a total of 20% off your purchase. All of the proceeds will go towards helping fundraise for their church. And this code is going to be active for the first 100 people that use this on their website. So please check them out. Please consider supporting their mission out in Los Angeles, California. And thank you so much for watching this video.